All right, hello and welcome. Welcome back to our Wednesday Peyton Chat. Appreciate you guys taking the time to come and hang out and hobby with me and keep me company. And hopefully we all keep each other a little bit of company today. So Wednesday, the 22nd of January. So moving right along into the year, and I've got more Man-O-War to paint. This is the Man-O-War Suppression Tanker. He's currently armless, but his arms are there. He's fine. He'll have arms soon. So anyway, I hope you guys are all doing well. I'm curious as to what projects you're working on. I do see there was some pre-chat, so I was sort of poking through that a bit. First off, thank you as always to Paul for being my wonderful moderator. Jay Alex, appreciate you being here in the chat. Viper Taha, welcome. Shayla Bang, welcome. Cool Guys Nation, Aaron, are you still here? We've been talking WoW, and so I'm trying to get him back into playing Classic with me because, Blackwing Lair is getting ready to come out, and, we need more hunters, apparently. Yes, David Dog, welcome. And Alurian, appreciate you joining the stream. I hope you're doing well over there in Australia, and hope things have calmed down over there. Whew. Samuel, welcome. Jan Scott, welcome. Appreciate you hanging out. Happy Wargaming. Wow, what a great name. I appreciate that. Well, hello, Happy Wargaming. And Mandragora, good to see you, man. Conan Mills, hello. Welcome. Todd, appreciate you being here as well. So, everybody just saying what's up. We're in the late part of the month, actually. The first month of January, the first month of the year, 2020, is already getting ready to be behind us. So, I'm getting ready for Indie Storm, and I don't know if Counterslam will join here in the chat, but Eric was super sweet and got me hooked up with some tournament teammates for Indie Storm. So I guess now I'm in a team tournament, which I was like, I'll just get there and do some casual playing or whatever. It's like, well, would you be in a tournament if I got you teammates? I'm like, oh, sure. And then he's like, I did. I'm like, oh, well. Let's do this. It's gonna be awesome. I'm actually really excited about it. I like team games. Aaron and I played in a team game last year at Adepticon when we did the doubles tournament for 40K, and that was a great amount of fun. Because wargaming turns out it's a social hobby. Shocker. And so you have to hang out and be social. So I'm working on my Man-O-War striker tanker, and yeah. What else are you guys working on tonight? Mandragora, I've got a team of 10 Raging Heroes Fantasy Sisters foot and armored men-at-arms with huge hammers, quick paint, metal for the armor, white for the hoods and shirts, brown for the hammer handles, and done. Man, that is a way to do it. Get some nice infantry out of the way, especially when the colors are nice and simple, especially when you're doing assembly line work like that, just so much of it. So again, I'm just sort of painting this guy up. This is all base coating work because it turns out the base coat for my Khador army is red. Tomato red, actually. So I've got my little Larry brush out here. My colloquially named Larry brush because it gets it done. It gets the paint on the model. And me being a super patient, highly detail-oriented person, I'm happy to get the model base coated in a hurry. So, especially since this paint needs to generally get 2 coats because the red comes on a little thin, and it's on all of my Khador army, so I can't exactly change colors. Whatever. Because I'm also never gonna repaint my stuff. Not ever. Anyway, what else is going on? Oh no, Paul. Anyone else miss the first 15 seconds? Oh, why did that happen? Because YouTube pops are an unskippable ad. Oh, Jay Alex, it's funny you mentioned that. Like, I actually ended up just buying into the YouTube Premium service just because, not even for the ads even, those didn't necessarily bother me, even though there's like unskippable ones and such. But because I can play something and then just listen to it, like I'll play it on my tablet and then close the tablet, which normally automatically stops any such video. Unless you have premium, then it'll still play. And that's literally the reason I keep YouTube Premium. Well, I originally got it because of Cobra Kai, which is the best modern TV show to be put out on the internet in a long time. Possibly in the last, I don't know how many years, but I love it. So if you haven't seen Cobra Kai yet, I also highly recommend it. But I think they changed that service now, so you should be able to see the YouTube shows even if you don't have Premium or Red or whatever the heck it's called now. Whatever. Just see if I can read comments and paint base coat. Whew. Gold and copper for the minutia, rosaries, and incense burner, mostly because that's how the church rolls. There you go. Didn't get an ad, must be targeting US and Canadians only. Happy Wargaming, I agree. Depending on the size of the army, you can go out all in depth as Custodes, but my Dark Eldar look fine with dry brush armor and a few details. Well, I mean, sometimes it's just a matter of painting it up. Well, one, painting it to where you want it, but also painting it up so that you can start playing with it, because sometimes that's priority. And I mean, that's kind of where I'm focusing my Manowar stuff. I'm sort of painting it to where I can play with it. There's some legitimate question as to whether or not these models will be actually done or sealed by the time they hit the tournament, but you know, they'll have colors on them, they'll have their arc markers, and by God, War Machine people really need to be painting their stuff anyway, so just any paint on a model is better. Digressing. Still working on my new Tyranid Tyrannocyte. Ooh, yeah, that's right. You've been working on that. Has it been the last couple weeks? I think you mentioned it last week. That's got to be a really cool model. I assume you're going all out on the details and all of that. Wow, my cat is scratching at the door. Damn cats. I guess we've unmasked the real copper thieves. Oh my gosh. Is that even a problem outside of the US? Still painting Stannis Baratheon. It's one of them Game of Thrones characters. It's sort of funny. I mean, I laugh about it, but like George R. R. Martin lives north of me, like in Santa Fe, so like an hour north of me, somewhere in Santa Fe. And he has a theater, which I've been to multiple times, and got to meet like the illustrator Tony DiTerlizzi and Peter S. Beagle, who is one of my favorite authors of all time, and oh my God, the damn cat! Go away, Mason. Nobody loves you. Go away. Scratch the door. So anyway, George R. R. Martin's just actually really friendly with these folks, and so he just sits down in his theater and just has like a long form conversation with them. And so you can hang out and chat and be part of the conversation. So I've probably spent more time like hanging out with George R. R. Martin, you know, not like we're friends or anything, but, you know, just talking to him about, you know, either his guest or his work and miniatures, which turns out he's a fan of historical miniatures, than I have watched any of his show or read the books. It's like, you know, you just don't mention Game of Thrones. Which I'm assuming is probably a little bit refreshing for him, because I'm sure that, you know, that's how he got famous, and he'd already been writing for, Jesus, 30 years or something before that book series took off and all that. So he worked a long time, and so hopefully, you know, I'm sure it's funny to him because, you know, he's insanely wealthy now, but at the time, nobody cared about any of his work prior. So, it is what it is. Oh, so much red. Everyone I missed when my connection failed. Put the paints on the model or get the hose again. Yeah, ideally. I mean, if these things could paint themselves, that'd be amazing. Can you imagine if you could have like programmable paints, like nanotechnology getting to the point where you paint something on that will like, you could program to change color at certain points, so all you have to do is like outline the details. So you could outline like the Khador and anvil there, and it can change from gold to black or something. That's pretty sweet. That's where the technology obviously needs to be focused. Missed a bit, I was priming. Yeah, it's all good, man. Unpainted models. I remember playing against a Warhammer Fantasy Battle Goblin army with 6 giants. repped by 1 Battle Master Ogre and 5 cardboard squares. Nice. I know you love Mason, Paul. She's a brat. The Song of Ice and Fire has amazing minis. I was tempted by the Bolton's Bastards or whatever they're called, cavalry unit to add to the fantasy team. Oh, nice. See, and whenever Tony DiTerlizzi was out, this would have been several years ago now, it was before the Song of Ice and Fire game had come out, so before the miniatures had come out. And Tony DiTerlizzi, I guess, was getting a miniature line done or something, because he's the one who did the Spiderwick Chronicles. And so I think that's one of the things they ended up talking about was, getting miniatures done. So it was a very convenient conversation for me to just sort of insert myself into, because I'm really subtle like that. Is George R.R. going to use Darn on Dave and Dan? Don? Going to use what? I think I missed it. Simon. What dates will you be traveling out for IndieCon? Are you adding any lead time or leisure time to see the sites? Actually, no. I'm leaving Friday morning, which is the day of the convention, and coming back Sunday night, which is after the convention ends. So it'll be a pretty short trip. I'll be back Monday. But I don't know. It'll be cool. It'll be nice to just get a sense of the, environment, I guess. But no, I don't have any real time planned for doing anything outside of it. And, Eric, he's my friend, but he's running the convention, so he'll be busy. So I'm not going to hang on their time too much. So go there, record some stuff, play some games. Hopefully I don't make my teammates hate me, and come back home. Be great. What can go wrong? Oh my goodness, hey Patrick, welcome. Appreciate you hanging out. Why are you painting your Signa red? You quiet pumpkin-powered creeper 1, 2, 3. Oh, for season 8. Are you going to use... Is George R. going to... Oh. No, I still don't get it. Sorry. So remember, I haven't actually seen or read any of the Game of Thrones stuff. It's just one of those huge cultural zeitgeists that sort of came and went for me. Painting demo core using 99-cent spray paint because I don't see any difference in results between expensive spray and cheap stuff. There you go. Put the money where it counts, where you're going to notice it. And it's funny because some of those products just operate differently for people. And I know I've heard people comment on it about like craft paints seemingly behaving themselves better for me, maybe, than they do for other people. And, I've messed around with various primers and sealants and... the resins. And yeah, they treat people differently. I recognize that there's chemistry to it and they should behave consistently if all other variables are removed, but I think the person operating or being near it is a variable for whatever reason. Stuff just behaves differently around you. So you'll find stuff that works and other people will not understand why it works for you because it won't for them, and vice versa. And I've learned that that's a very real thing. What's the science behind it? I don't know. Probably some sort of magic, obviously. But no, it's just funny. So, if your spray paints... So, you might get weird primers where it'll put that awful texture, like a bumpy texture on your model, and then you have to strip it and start over again. Like, sometimes spray primers do that. And that's obviously, like, a bad issue with the can, or maybe the temperature's off, or something. But some people just have brands they swear by that's just never done that for. That's never done that to them, I should say. Have you seen those cars that have digital paint? Google it. They're insane. Google it! Really? I haven't. That sounds interesting. So if you're... I'm in Albuquerque, so pardon me for thinking this way, but so if you, say you've committed a crime and you're trying to escape in your vehicle, changing the color would significantly improve your ability to get away. I think that would be something they'd regulate. That's really cool, though. It'll be a while before we have programmable paints. Hero Forge 2.0 Kickstarter is the closest to the idea, and that colored plastic doesn't look good versus hand-painted. Yeah, and that seems to still be just the ongoing reality. Paul, you got on board with Sisters yet? Coughed up for the pre-orders, but need some hobby supplies before starting. Programmable paint surface. How alpha legion of you, Miranda. Oh, thank you. Well, while working on my last Death Dread. Next, I'm working on it. Hey, Eric, welcome. And wow, that's a lot of work. Now undecided, just prime black. Definitely cheapest in the UK. It works well. Just got the Sisters of, yeah, and Paul did just get the Sisters of Battle box, so I'm waiting for him to tell me how they are to put together, because you're working on a kill team list, right? Right, Paul? But I don't know what the list composition is yet. A lot of writers will write several novels before they get published. It takes a while to hone your skills and find your own unique style. Well, there's sort of the finding your style, but there's also a timing element a lot of times, because there are stories that are good stories, but nobody cares about because the timing of it for whatever's going on in the culture doesn't matter. I mean, it's been argued, not to bring up Star Wars necessarily, but it's been argued that, you know, Star Wars coming out when it did post sort of Vietnam era, and when people were sort of feeling super down, and then this kind of optimistic hero story comes out, like this kind of what people wanted at the time. I mean, and Star Wars is fine, but it's a very basic story, right? The whole hero's journey and all that. And it's timeless and universal in that regard, but arguably the timing of it is part of what made it so huge, so insanely huge. Miranda, I'm leaving the States for a month soon. I haven't decided what to take to paint with me. Oh dear. Well, make sure whatever you take, they'll allow on the airplane if you're leaving the States. Are you driving out? Where are you going? What's going on? Battle box. What's in it? Didn't get anything like that in Australia. Ooh. 11 model box that works as a kill team. Ah, I see. Cyber Dragon, welcome. I've been experimenting with dry brushing white over a black base since my red is really transparent for some reason. Yeah, I've seen that technique. I was wanting to sort of try it on my Sorsha 3 model, because she ended up, I used my wrought iron like off black, but it's still, I mean, yes, it's a black, but it came off darker than I wanted it to. And so I was wondering about trying that dry brush technique, but it also looks super intimidating, so I don't want her to look horrible. So I have to look more stuff up and get confident, you know, when you watch enough videos and you decide, yes, I could do that. That's the point I'm waiting to get to, and I haven't reached it yet. So. Has anyone ever left paint pots in their carry-on with it being okay? I don't want them taking them away and throwing it away. Yeah, I don't know. I've never tried to take painting stuff with me on a plane. Wonder if climate affects paint. Like it affects baking, like how high altitude directions, low humidity. Well, the humidity does affect it, J. Alex, because you're talking about paint in such small quantities, right? It's like on the tip of this brush, especially when you get into really, really fine detail brushes in a low humidity environment, say New Mexico, the desert. Your paint oftentimes will just dry on your brush before you've put the brush to the surface you're painting. So you gotta be careful, or you gotta be aware of it. And a lot of people use a wet palette to kind of compensate for that. As far as high humidity environments, as far as I can tell, it mostly just affects dry time. I don't know that it affects much of anything else for people. Of course, here we have super fast dry time. I'll prime, and in 5 minutes I could be painting, so that part's nice and easy. The only non-cheap spray I'd consider is the color match for my red, because Khador. Yeah, I really should be priming these red. I get that, but high humidity definitely has an effect. Okay. Miranda talking about Albuquerque crime always makes me think, is she going in the direction of the GTA or Breaking Bad? I know. I love my estate, but man, we've got we're number one for auto theft in the whole country now, officially. And we got a lot of colorful people here. I like it, but man, oh man, gets a little Wild West. I was a fan of the books 10 years before the show came out. Nice. They can change color, but they display flashing images like a TV as well. It's properly crazy. Whoa. That is pretty crazy. Did you see on Uncle Adam or Blackjack Legacy Steam recently? Oh, yeah, no. Found a 3 VHS tape set of the first Star Wars movies at a thrift shop and watched them. They have not aged well. Yeah, but I wish they were at least still an option to buy. I am a little peeved off at Lucas changing that. I'm just saying, well, the original negatives have been modified and damaged, and you have to watch a whole bunch of CGI vomit now. I don't like that. Yeah, I don't think I've watched Blackjack Legacy either, Patrick. Took my paint kit and my luggage on a plane. It worked fine after landing. Yeah, I mean, if they allow you to do it, I guess that's the only question there, right? Just making sure that you'll be able to, I guess, what is it, a 2-ounce rule? You can't have more than 2 ounces of any of that stuff. So if you're bringing small paint pots, it's probably fine. Be my guess. If you're doing it carry-on. Otherwise, you might have to check the bag, and I don't think people are as likely to rummage through state paints. Like, that'd be an extra weird thing to do. I'm not saying no. They wouldn't. It'd be weird. More than likely, they just lose your luggage, because that's what they do. And it's always a little bit of a risk, because whenever I do because I'll be flying Indy Storm here for Indianapolis, it's like, okay, well, I need my minis with me, because there's a lot of value and work and stuff that's gone into them, and I don't want them damaged or lost. And you have a limit on what you can take on carry-on, and so it's like, okay, well, the clothes go into checked baggage, easy, and it's never been lost yet. It's not been lost yet, but that would be unfortunate. So. But, priorities. Gotta have your minis with you. And it's always super fun whenever you go through TSA checkout, because they always pull your bag and they're like, what is this? And you're like, oh, they're miniatures. And more people these days are like, oh, yeah, I've seen these. These are cool. Nothing's hollow, right? And you're like, nope. Nope, not at all. That beautiful Sister Amalia picture. That is a nice model. Oh, so much red. Someone should write a country song about getting their truck stolen in Albuquerque with their dog still in it. Well, it's Albuquerque. We also love our dogs dearly. Dearly. I just miss mine. I don't know. I don't know that you could make like a song about New Mexico without people getting pretty offended about it, because there's there's a lot of different people here, and sing about all of them, you're gonna piss everybody off. And well, I think that's fine. Don't know that would go over well. Yeah, if you'll excuse me, I have to paint this robot's crotch. Yep. Nothing weird here. I keep going back to the big brush, the little ones I'm all impatient with. I really like the stiffness of this brush too. Kind of, you can put the paint where you want, whereas this one gets a little more bendy. And I've also managed to finally fray it a bit. Sorry, Jason. I mean, it holds its shape fine and it still puts paint there. It's just, it's not like this nice, perfect point that it once was. So what is that? How many months since Valhalla? November 3-ish, over 3 months now. It's fine. But yeah, you can sort of see some of the damage to it now. Say that. Dude, it's a little sad. Oh well. What else is going on in here? There's a version of the original Star Wars trilogy called 4K77 that is done off a theatrical film master. I'm pretty sure Lucas wouldn't have condoned that. It's interesting though. Like, can you legally what? Like, get a hold of that? Good old paintbrush. Oh. When I went to America, I bought home lots of candy for workmates, but freaked out when I forgot to declare I had food. It was fine. I mean, it's not food, it's just candy. It's fine. Totally fine. I don't like this brush for this purpose. Incoming flattery. I'm sure someone could find something to write a country song about you in Albuquerque. About me? Unlikely. Nobody in Albuquerque really knows or cares. And Albuquerque is also sort of one of those weird places where if you sort of are trying to make it in, say, entertainment, or you're building a business, or just doing anything that might involve like getting some sort of recognition, there's a whole lot of people that will actually line up, ironically, to tell you how much they don't care about what you're doing. So, a little bit of a strange place. So I don't know that I want that attention anyway. So, a lot of people, I mean, there's a whole story from, and I think I mentioned it before, at Joann Fabrics, when the lady was telling me about, what's his name, Raymond Romano? From Everybody Loves Raymond. She saw him like on the street, I want to say it was at a bus stop, but that doesn't sound right. And he was asking for directions, and she was telling him where to go. And for whatever reason, the topic had come up of, do you know who I am, or do you recognize me, or something like that. And she's like, yeah, but you're in New Mexico, and no one cares about anything, ever. So that's it's actually a pretty true sentiment, because there's some really cool, talented people here. In fact, if you've ever watched the YouTube channel, Enter the Dojo with Matt, Matt Page as the karate instructor. Those are freaking hilarious. I think he does okay. He probably has more accolades. Like, I'm sure more people know who he is because he does more acting stuff. But even then, it's like, just New Mexico's a weird animal. Okay, no arguments this time. I'm definitely making, excuse me, I have to paint this robot's crotch a t-shirt. Well, you have to obviously accompany that with a picture, Alex. Otherwise you look like a weirdo. I don't know. This is the life of the minis. That's why I don't do a lot with organics. I'm like, I'm not gonna go there. Not on live stream. I don't pay enough attention to monitor the chats. Wow, already 30 minutes in. This guy's getting pretty red, you know, like getting that base coat covering him pretty well. I say him, probably him. You're a man of war, you've got to be able to hold like 200 pounds of steam armor. So it's probably not, it probably favors itself toward dudes who only want to live till about 45. Seems about right. I think I mentioned it before too, like in Khador, it's sort of like a thing they don't talk about, where a lot of the people who have retired from the military service as man of war are just have all these horrible injuries and back problems and can barely walk and are basically like sent to these convalescent villages where they are just sort of ignored. Like they live there and you know, they live okay as well as you live in Khador, so, you know, there's some sort of infrastructure. But that's it. Like, if you run around in man of war armor, you are destroying all of your body, basically. And so, it's a pretty intense thing to do, which makes me a little bit concerned for old Sorsha running around in that. Doesn't seem like the greatest decision. You know, it almost seems like they just wanted to shove her inside a big big fat steam armor instead of letting her be a Winter Guard commander like she should have been, but whatever. Also, the girl needs to solve that Pathfinder problem. Ugh, so frustrating. Alright, I'm almost done. I'll read Then I will read the comments, and then we will put gunmetal on things. Ta-da! But I really do need to make sure that red is everywhere. Sick of missing stuff on my model. Master Ken, thank you. But that's not the name of the channel. I thought that was still Enter the Dojo. But I don't know. Master Ken is the main actor. It's very important to me that you know I don't care. Just doesn't seem to work. Right? Thank you. That's New Mexico. Kind of refreshing, like Keanu Reeves on the subway. Yes, there's that. New York has a little bit of a different reputation. If you guys saw, oh my gosh, Into the Spider-Verse, the one with Miles Morales, like their depiction of New York is so spot on. It's hilarious. You know, he like collapses on the sidewalk and people are just stepping around him. Thank you, New York. I guess. So there's a lot of places that way. You just get into enough of a city environment and people are so sick of being around each other that they're not nice. Oh, can confirm after practice. Contrast paints ruin your brushes quicker. So wash them with greater frequency. If you get them on your skin, they're also pretty sticky. Well, that's pretty likely. Surprised I don't have paint all over my hands yet. Anywho, stuck between Trolls Protectorate, Circle, Convergence, or Syra. Oh, geez, Patrick. Well, I always have a soft spot for Trolls, but they play a lot like Khadors, so I might have a bias. And they've got fun lore and really cool aesthetics and good rules. I would promote Trolls. Can confirm no one cares about anything here in Las Lunas. Oh, sorry. How do I say your name? Is it like Jekyll B-Dev? Maybe? I don't know. Doesn't Doug Stanhope live over there somewhere? Maybe? I'm amazed at how many people own property in New Mexico. Like, I want to say Julia Roberts owned a house in Santa Fe, and like Mr. T lives somewhere around here. And I mean, I never go out, so I never see anybody. So there's that. But yes, technically there are people who probably have like vacation homes here, would be my guess. Matt Page is a fantastic guy to work with. He is super nice. I've met him and hung out with him a bit. I like him. Should have just primed him red. Yeah. But then this wouldn't be done. So I have a very specific red, sir, and so I would have to paint it red on top of the red primer if I were to do that. So he just gets primed red. Plus I kind of only own gray, and I haven't really messed around with other primers. I have this very stuck in my ways way of getting stuff painted around here. And now I'm just getting some paint in these undercoats. For the most part, a lot of that shouldn't get seen anyway, but you know how it gets. Start getting some weird angles on a model. Contrast paint should not be applied to one's skin, sir. Warcaster psychology makes up for a lot of Man of War armor-induced fatigue. Sorcerer's probably fine. Maybe. That's pretty untested. I mean, I guess who else would even be in steam armor? Karchev? And he's kind of a crazy old man. Why not prime it red? It's a different shade. How much is Albuquerque like Breaking Bad? I mean, it depends on what part of town you're in. So Walter White's house, the main character's house, is maybe 2 miles from where I'm at. And like, I think it's Hank's house, the police officer. He's just east of me. And so like, those are all in different neighborhoods, sort of. Like where Hank's house is a really nice area of town, and where Walt's house is also a pretty nice area of town, but like the people who own the house are not very friendly, apparently. This is totally rumor, so, you know, take it for what you will. It may not be true anymore, because I think they've sold the house since then, but there was a big issue for a long time where people would go up to that house and throw pizzas on the roof and take pictures and stuff, and so they got really mad about it and had all these signs, you know, under surveillance, no trespassing, go away, basically. And it did get in the paper a couple of times of like, you know, owners have asked people to stop throwing pizzas on this roof. It's not funny. Please stop. So we have, and that's just like the weird fans here doing that, I guess. I don't know that they're tourists so much. We do have a pretty bad drug problem here in New Mexico. That's real. And then, so I really liked the Breaking Bad show because it was super interesting, but I can't say I know anybody like that. So as far as how much is it like it, I live well outside of that sphere. So it may well be like plenty like it as far as the weird content of the show, you know, regarding like the drug dealing and all that, but I don't know. We have a lot more homeless than you see in the show. That's definitely real. But that's also been in the last like 5 years. It's really ramped up. But we always had a lot. We had a mental asylum here up until I think the 90s. And I believe it was due to funding running out that they ended up closing it. But instead of sending the patients anywhere, they just sort of opened the doors and let everyone out. So Albuquerque had like homeless people that came out of an asylum for a number of years. And in the 90s, Albuquerque topped the list of most dangerous cities to live in for a while. So, you know, that happened. So we make weird decisions here. A lot of that. We've got a really cool art scene, great weather, and if you're into astronomy or geology, then it's fantastic. We also have the most PhDs of anywhere else in the country because we've got multiple labs. So, you know, add that to all the other weirdness. The paint got chunky. Gross. Gross. Alright, now we're going to paint some brown. Done with this red business. Enter the Dojo is the name of the show. Haha. Matt Page plays Master Ken, the series protagonist. Excellent. Thank you. It's almost as a documentary. Whatever. It's not that bad. I have a bad habit of smoothing green stuff with my fingertip. Definitely tough to get off. I've never messed with green stuff. That has been properly intimidating to me. Good evening, Conovan Studios. Welcome. Appreciate you coming by. If you do go to Circle, never buy an army box. You can find X-Players selling their stuff with all the Warp Wolves, Argus, and Starter Warlocks you could ever need. Mandragora is completely right. I got a really good deal on a troll army for that reason in Canada. Oh, and it was Canadian money, so it was even cheaper for me. So, yes. Albuquerque's actually a lot like Break. Yeah. Who would you say is your, Alex, who would you say is your favorite troop or mini of all time from any tactical game, past or present? That's a very broad question. There's a lot that I've liked. And the thing is, a lot of it's like personality based. Like they'll perform well on the table and I think they're just neat. One that comes to mind pretty immediately is the sniper leader for the Khador Widowmakers. She's just got a really great aesthetic look to her that's very proper Russian, even though it's Khadoran. And I always thought that miniature looked cool. It just sort of captures the imagination. Night Titans, like any of them. Oh, a Warlord Titan. Jeez, those things just look amazing to me. I mean, I have a soft spot for robots, so there's that. But, you know, I'll play a game, say I'll play Space Hulk or something, and Brother Dano does, like, some pretty badass stuff. And then I'm like, yeah, you're the coolest. I'm a fan of you. Because that game was fun, and I anthropomorphized it to be because of that miniature. So, but I don't know. Off the cuff, I would say the Widowmaker leader. She doesn't have a name or anything, but I rarely use green stuff, but it does work well. Jane Scott sounds like a former airborne troop. Jacked up knees, back, ankle. Yeah. Going back to the Man-O-War thing, that's totally true. Miranda, isn't Karchev essentially a 40k dreadnought? He was cannon life support, right? Lifting and lugging the weight of man-of-war armor is worlds away from the contents of the War Machine lunchbox. So yeah, Karchev, he's like, geez, super old. I want to say he's close to 300 years old. Like, he's super, super old. And obviously, you know, was injured multiple times. He was actually a Grey Lord originally, and there was a battle in which he had been injured, and he just demanded that the Khadoran military build him a machine to keep him going because he was not done fighting. So that particular guy is just like sheer force of will as a character. He's it's actually kind of awesome. It's weird though. He seemed to have become less impressive as a, you know, becoming Grey Lord because he's only focus 6 and most Grey Lords at least magic 7. So he got less magical for it. But, you know, he'll raffle stomp you in a fist fight, that's for sure. But yes, he's actually a warjack anyway, so personally I've never seen any Hollywood explosions here in Albuquerque. It's television. People aren't like that now at RL. Do you have crime and methods? Yeah, I know. There are sometimes cars on fire randomly. Huge. I got a huge line of trade. Yeah. Well, so if you're collecting Circle, I mean, they're a beautiful army. Canadian money isn't real. That's fair. That's fair. I was using just my debit card, so it just auto-translated. It's like nothing even came out of my account, really. It's great. Traditionally, Russian uniforms were dark green, like wine bottles. Just saying. Okay, interesting. Khador, man too angry to die. Well, yeah, he was just full of old man rage. No, Karchev's got some cool lore. A lot of them do. Not that anybody reads the lore, but, you know, if you do, it's cool. Ta-da! Look at that beautiful chunk. I also have my little thingy here so I can get his marks on. Won't matter as much, but I'll probably just go ahead and get his baseline on there. But we ain't done painting the brown. There's always that little corner since I stuck a rock on there, and so you've got to like get into the little crevices here. And for this, since there's so much texture in the base, I just keep the brush pretty wet for coverage. Because if the brush is too dry, then you're just not going to get much coverage with all the texture. So this solves it. I do like this little pointy brush. This is the DB1, one of the Jason from Creature Casters Bombwick brushes. It's been really nice. It's got this whole wedge shape going on, which I've found useful. And it's also held its shape quite well. There we go. Brown. He now has brown. And I'm trading my AOS stuff for Jeremy's brother's Khador. Oh, you're taking his? Okay. One white hidden skirt done. 9 to go. Congratulations, Mandragora. Progress is progress, good sir. Morning review. Welcome. Appreciate you hanging out. I've been working my way through giving all of Miranda's videos a like. Helps the channel. Thank you. I appreciate that, J. Alex. Good morning, Mansal reviews. To Miranda in the chat in general, do you prefer to make your own bases or do you prefer to buy textured bases? I've always made them. I have some pre-textured ones. There was like a lot from, I think some overstock from Simon that I got a hold of. And they were good for like their deep well. So like the deep well bases that Simon came out with were a little different. That I liked having the pre-textured stuff because you can do some interesting things in there and theme it. Whereas if you're really building up a base, you know, you're using corkboard or whatever, it just takes a lot of time. I have a very generic base that I put on my, I'll just get my little guys thingy here done. Very generic base that I go with for my models, so I don't really need to, I haven't messed around with much in the way of prefab. So that's that. Although I imagine it'd be kind of useful for, say, sci-fi or, again, a specific theme. Or if you're not, like, confident with working with the materials that you would use to make it. Like, if you wanted to have cobblestone bases on all of your dudes, then that might be something worth buying than overmaking. Unless you have got some really good knowledge on building cobblestone bases. So, as usual, the answer is it depends. Beautiful. And then the rest of it sort of falls in line. Hey, Space Wolves, welcome. Appreciate you coming by. Oh dear, let's see here. I assume you're going to Adepticon this year. I bought the tickets, I just need to figure out how to actually get out there. So, we'll see. My Iron Warriors, so this is Paul. His Iron Warriors have Necromunda bases. And all my other kill teams have solid color bases depending on the team. Very basic style. If it's a fancy unit, sometimes buy nice resin bases. But for general troops, I'll add sand texture and snow flock to the standard bases. And yeah, sand texture, flock, green or white, whatever works. I live and die by cork for Warm Horde bases. It's crazy versatile. And I've never messed with the cork stuff, so. And see, I like a little bit of both for my bases. I made all of my own bases up until Shadespire, then I realized it's super nice not having to worry about it. Well, Patrick, you also have made like dungeon tiles and done a lot of custom stuff, so you seem more eager to jump into that. Alright, what are we doing over here? Painting the Khadors red. Cyber Dragon, I enjoy making my own bases, but textured bases save time and are fun to paint. So there you go. Oh geez, forgot about the standard bearer. Okay, serious question. Standard bearers, are standard bearers real, or are they just an excuse to replace a really cool weapon with a banner and another with a musician? I mean, standard bearers, I think, historically were real. And in Khador, it doesn't matter, because all standard bearers have the same weapon, so it's just an additional thing the poor guy has to carry and then fight with, so it in no way impacts the effectiveness of my army, other than giving a bolstering to the command. You can probably dry brush here. I have a question. How important to everyone is being able to customize your army leader, or do you prefer preset characters? Well, that's an interesting question. Okay, ow. So I know when I first got into War Machine, I actually really super loved the idea of not having to WYSIWYG build all the models, because in 40K, you know, does your commander have a plasma pistol or combi weapon, or are they running with a, you know, freaking, what is it, like a chain sword or whatever the other sword is? There's a bunch of different types of weapons, and you've got to like customize it onto this little tiny 28mm figure. Well, 25mm figure, I guess at the time. So it was sort of like overwhelming with the number of options. And so as far as like beginners go, I would say just don't bother with it, just because, oh, I don't need that brush. Don't bother with it because you're still learning the game, and so if you're sitting around figuring out which specific options your dude is going to need to be the best or most effective or whatever, then you're really delaying yourself probably unnecessarily. But later on, it actually gets fun to customize, and so that just depends on your personal taste if you like to do that. Dan, I've done both. I've textured bases for my Necrons and a few of my other Leader Elite models, but there are times when I like making my own. I'm big into kit bashing and conversions. Nice. 12 Neat, welcome. How long does it normally take you to film bat rep? I'm sure the bigger the battle, the longer it takes. Yes. So whatever your normal game length is, if you multiply it by 4 or 5, it's basically how long that takes. But I mean, I go for a specific style with the battle reports, and so they will take longer. That's not what I want either. Because you're looking for a specific angle on the shot, and it's easy for people when they're in the middle of playing to get into the mode of playing. So you're like, I'm gonna move this here and then this here, and you're like, whoa, stop moving stuff. That whole strategy you have in your head, hold on to that, which is harder than you think. And then you record each individual move. So it all cuts together really fast, but so much of that is just because it takes so long to start out with. So we're looking at a little dry brush in here, bring up some texture, because there's a lot of texture here, but if you paint it all one color, you can't see that, turns out. Green Stuff World has some really neat acrylic rollers that you can use on green stuff to give you some great foundations to your base. That's cool. Again, I don't know that I'll necessarily into messing with green stuff. That gets real, I don't know. It seems intimidating. I've got enough intimidating projects to do this year. Stormlord comes to mind. Is that even really coming out much? Yeah, it is a little bit. There we go. Miranda, I've used cork for log building, abused build-up bases for slopes, who put epoxy putty over it. Cork is very reasonable. Okay. Trust your instincts with the bases, wash, dry brushing. That's all it takes to make a quick getaway. Painting your armies. So, as long as I'm not in a huge hurry, like sitting around painting is perfectly fun. And it's nice, your friends come over and you're hanging out and, just chatting. And then the figures kind of get done in their own time, but you've been hanging out. It's just whenever you're like, oh, I've got this work to do, and it feels like work, that's where it's bad. I think I'm just going to walk away from that part of it. Serious face, I want to thank you for being here tonight. You're helping me decompress from a difficult day. Oh no, I don't know. Things have improved for you then, good sir. I felt your pain earlier. Got home close to 6 o'clock local time, and immediately went and hung out on my couch and just died for an hour. And then I woke up and I'm like, oh, that's right. This is what it's like to be alive again. Because, I'm not great at getting enough sleep. Cork is such a great universal material for bases and terrain in general. True. Does anyone else shake their paints even though you're not using it because you don't like the look of paint separating in the pot? Yes. Kit bashing is only a thing if you have no choice but to do so. Otherwise, just proxy them together. I appreciate your very casual approach, good sir. All right, we need some silver on these guys. Let's get into the metallics. My beautiful folk art craft paint gunmetal. Make sure to shake it well, otherwise you might get some globby problems. Hey Siobhan, how are you doing? I'm currently working on a Triumph of St. Catherine for Alexis. It's gonna take me a bit to paint. Nice. I mean, I know you'll do a beautiful job on it, so. Miranda, do you know where kit bashing came from first? I don't. Where did it come from? I'm in the crazy process of rebasing all my old Warhammer Fantasy Battle miniatures into round and oval bases. And now they're talking about using squares again for the new version. I'm gonna stick with round. Does it matter terribly much? Like, as far as I can tell, I play 40k, I mean, there's, you know, you'll stack the bases so deep from combat, you know, on a tank or whatever, because, what is it, 1 inch from the target, and then 1 inch of a model that's within 1 inch. So you're not able to stack it too terribly deep anyway. And so I guess just if your model base size doesn't dramatically impact that, then who cares, you know? And hopefully players wouldn't be giving you grief for that, because it is kind of dumb that they just keep changing it back and forth, because, I mean, they kind of, I guess that's how they're encouraging people to buy new models. I don't know. But yeah, don't blame you. All right, it's been a few weeks since I've read it, so Siobhan, as usual, reminding the audience that in 1999, The Undertaker threw mankind off Hell in a Cell into the Spanish announcer table. That happened. Movement trays are super easy to get now for round bases. Ooh, yeah. Oh, and if you've got access to a 3D printer, then it's even better. Like, movement trays, or, I mean, just get them off Etsy. Like, why bother buying them retail? My mom used to kit bash train cars for her model railroad. She has all scratch-built mini box cars a long time ago. You know, I grew up with a train set. Never really worked, but it was huge. It was 4x8, and then it was an L shape of 2 4x8 tables. It was just, no, 4x6. An L shape of 2 4x6 tables. It was crazy. First time here. What sort of light fixture do you use on your table? I've got a LED, actually. No, it's just a CFL fluorescent above my monitor setup, and then just a little shop light off the side here. So the light is okay, but it's not amazing. I mean, it's hopefully okay. And then I'm just using a little Sony Life Cam to capture the details. Oh god, there's still so many spots. Dude. Alright, anyway. When I had a good workspace, I used to magnetize the wrist and hands of all my commanders and prep all the weapon optionals. That's just me. That is dedication. I remember, when I first got into it and I learned, it wasn't a thing for War Machine as much, unless you had the multi-kits for the Warjacks. But yeah, when you'd play 40k, you pay so much for the model, you're like, well, what if I magnetize and get the most out of it? My response was that it turns out you just lose stuff. So, oh, you started playing WoW again. Wait a minute, Cyber Dragon. Are you playing WoW Classic or Retail? Because, Classic's pretty awesome. I don't know what's going on with the rest of it. Can't believe January's over. I was going to write and paint and edit stuff. Instead, I ate, slept, and renewed my WoW subscription. Oh my. Still, I've painted more minis in the last 2 months than the last 2 years. Wow. Well, that's definitely progress on multiple fronts. When the nice things of working with somebody, bouncing ideas for color schemes and conversions. Yes. Paul, Miranda should assemble and paint her Stormlord at the same pace I do my Corn Lord of Skulls. Then fight! Yes, that would be fun. Trying to cheat the size difference between the new and old Chaos Marines. Thinner, flat bases for new, textured for old rebased ones. The cheat looks okay, but making the bases then similar is trickier. So I wonder if it's almost better to magnetize bases, right? Because then when inevitably some new rule comes out, you can just be like, move it on to a new one. Looking forward to the next Valhalla. The King will return. Oh yeah. That'll be fun. Kickstarter March 1st. Whew. If bases are an issue, just magnetize what you have from small to large. Converted the old ones a bit to they look more okay. Fair enough. J. Alexander, I feel your couch crash story. Went to the store and bought comfort food. I know it's been a rough day when I come home laden with junky snacks. Oh man, well I certainly hope it improves. Wednesdays can be such a weird time of week too. old CSM versus new CSM are my bane. I have about 4K of completely mutated CSM that took me about 3 years to convert into mutants, and now the models are huge compared to my old ones. Hey, Bill's welcome. We got another half hour, you're good. I had a train track. I had a train set. Only one train on a huge track. I did multi-kit my Shadow Wars stuff. Armageddon Kill Team. Lost my stuff. Eek! The more I watch you working on minis, I ask myself, why did I ever stop? Well, if you've got access to paint and minis, just pick it up again. It's not so bad. Still have my old trains, either game table or train table. I game. Obliterators are the worst. 3rd gen were terrible, happy to skip them. 4th gen were cool, mutated with squat models, and the newest ones look like flesh hulks with guns. Consistency, please. Well, 40K, good sir. Well, Warhammer Fantasy Battle. That's what was going on there. Turned out Jeremy had them for yours. Oh, really? Oh, that's funny. Well, at least he was watching them for you. Oh, what am I painting silver? I got distracted, sorry. Let's take this long brush, work with that. Yeah, that's what I decided. I'm selling off all the old train stuff because no one's using it anymore. Well, at least there's always good memories of it, I hope. I'm just so damn slow. If one really looks at them, one can, of course, tell, but I figure there can be subtle differences in the Chaos Army. Yeah, I think you got a lot of leeway on that sort of thing. Okay, so that's going to be brown and brass. All of the rivets, all of the time. That could be silver. And honestly, those tubes should also be silver. We've got our 3rd color on our miniature here, folks. It's tournament legal now. Unless you play War Machine, and they're just like, please take it out of the box at least. Sorry, I make fun because I'm frustrated. Game I love so much, abused so thoroughly. But it should be interesting getting to fight in a team tournament. I've never played in a War Machine team tournament before, and I really have no idea what to expect. We do have a little Facebook Messenger thing going on right now, where we've all said hi to each other. Really hope we start talking about lists soon. Oh hum. Okay, so that can be silver. I wonder if that should be brass. This little thingy here can be silver. It's just picking out bits, really. The hard part for me on some of this is deciding what should be brass and what should be just steel. Because I think, well, okay, what would be just like sort of a simple universal piece? Whoa. Oh, thank you, Urban Steel. Appreciate it. Swear not to ruin the werewolf game this year. What? Is that you, Ma? Well, you and I need to have a conversation. I don't like the new Orblets? Orblets? Huh. Just lost my mind trying to put transfers on my Imperial Fish shoulders. Send help. I got nothing for you other than hats off. Good luck to you. My condolences. Whichever one fits for you. Yikes. Transfers are a pain in the butt. They're like temporary tattoos, except you're trying to apply it to not skin, and so there's not really much in the way of like anything porous to take that. Oh, to all GW, we're announcing something big at LVO. I could be wrong, but the people who warned me aren't normally wrong. Yeah, there's usually announcements at LVO, so I'm sure there'll be something. What was the biggest recent news? Was the Psychic Awakening, so what are we dealing with now, I wonder? They're like, good news, everybody, we're out of business. We've sold ourselves to Hasbro. It's less likely. They are very successful right now. And they also probably don't have a representative that sounds like Farnsworth, whatever, but yeah, whatever. So. We're just gonna go ahead and get our steel on here. For decals, you need to get some Microsoft and Microset. If you learn how to use those, decals are easy. Personally, I like the first design of the Obliterator most. The walking junk heaps from 3rd edition. I've tried scratch building some, but progress is slow. Geez, Zach, tell me how you really feel. You weren't a fan when they took over Wizards of the Coast? No? Yeah, me neither. Alright, so let's say these kneecaps probably need to be silvified. So this is just a bunch of detail work. Kind of nice just carving in the details though. Alright, one of my favorite things to do also is to get the rivets on. That always is the fun part for me. It makes the model look so much more highly detailed than it is. And I think of like high detail as like free forming a lot of work on it. But if you're just, I don't know, dotting these little nubs here, it goes a long way. Although everyone in this chat is pretty well experienced with painting, so you know full well. Ta-da! Love that effect though. What happened here? That would be the end. Hasbro can't do anything right now except Marvel Legends action figures. Love those. Well, I guess that just depends on who's in charge then. It just depends on whether or not the property is near and dear to anybody and if it would be respected properly. You know, I think that they tend to have a little bit of an issue finding the right people due to the Peter principle, I guess. Water slide transfers stay better on a surface if you coat it with a glossy varnish first. Afterwards, apply a matte varnish over it to blend the transfer. Oh, that's really good advice. Thank you, Siobhan. I'm almost done with my storm lances, and my son asked me to paint a D&D halfling for one of his game buddies. Halfling done, storm lancers are angrily waiting. Well, you know, sometimes priorities jump ahead. That's sweet of you to do, though. If they sold to Hasbro, they could go to the 40K universe in a Magic set. That's true. You know they would absolutely incorporate that immediately. Watching Miranda paint all this War Machine stuff corrupted me. I ordered $200 worth today. Oh my gosh. I think it's funny the tournament players don't paint their models, and here I am painting to paint them for fun. I mean, I'm pretty sure more models for War Machine are painted by hobbyists than by players. I don't know if it's still as much true, but it was a joke for a long time and one I disliked. Quilliton family, welcome. Started building my orblets from using fantasy orc bosses and base them as a base, and then going hardcore on green stuff and bits. 2 out of 10 sisters whites painted. Excellent work, Mandragora. You're getting there. If Hasbro had better control over WOTC and D&D, would be a game that everyone could enjoy. Instead, they've hired no designers and sold out to crybabies and influencers. I mean, I'm sure you're totally right, but I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm just sure you're totally right. I don't know that GW is really at any risk of doing anything like that. They're just too huge a company. What was it, 2017 that they, or maybe it was 2018. Yeah, I think it was 2018 that their stock had grown dramatically. Unfortunately, I don't think they're ever going to be in a position where like they could buy out another huge company like Hasbro. That would end up like the next step up for Hasbro if they were to be bought out would probably be legitimately like Disney. I did not expect that much vitriol in the comments, however. It's just an offhand joke. Although, I hope GW watches out. Don't go partnering with Hasbro. Beautiful. And obviously he gets a sooty blackwash and null and oil, because, you know, steam-powered armor. Sooty goodness. More Rivets. Evan, welcome. The way I see obliterators is as metallic but not robotic, not as something that looks designed, but more, like I said, like a metal junk heap of guns. Fair enough. Does anyone know what Duncan Rhodes is doing next? Is he off to Warlord to paint and promote bolt action? Good question. I have no idea. We are going to get some more rivets painted though. There we go. Well, at least my army for this tournament will look pretty decent, I hope. Sorry, I'm getting all focused on that. I just love how the rivets end up showing up. Thank you, Alex. GW's quarterly reports for the last 4 years are so sound and efficient. I can't be shocked that they finally won me over. Yeah, I feel ya. Looking so pretty. No way, Hasbro makes seriously terrible choices in games and toys, like My Little Pony. Huge cash cow for them. They release special sets, but only make 4 or 5 of Man 6 for that set. Shaking my head. Oh my. So wait a minute. I guess Hasbro, do they own Powerpuff Girls too then? Because I thought the same people who own Powerpuff Girls own My Little Pony. And does that mean that they own stuff like the Voltron rights and like She-Ra and all the other stuff they're rehashing? Did they remake Thundercats yet? Has that happened? I have to edit almost 80 pages tomorrow. My eyes are going to bleed. I probably need to do a full facial assault on my pillow soon. Wow. Make sure you're getting enough rest. 80 pages is no joke to mess with, especially if you're having to specifically discern every single page. Just some strong feels. I have skin in the game. Doesn't happen often. Oh, you're good, Zach. It's just a really strong reaction. I'm surprised. But I guess Hasbro just really pissed people off when they took over D&D, and then they put out, well, that was 4th edition, I believe, which was sort of like D&D if it was an MMO or something, and everything was more combat-based, and they really promoted their grid system, because that's more stuff you can sell and all that. Really, I think it's that Hasbro doesn't focus on any one thing. They've got all these properties and board games and such that they don't care to give attention to the niche areas. But, I mean, if they're also a huge company, theoretically, you look at even big video game companies, Blizzard, Activision, like, you know, you're the team on Overwatch, you're the team on Heroes of the Storm, not anymore, you're the team on World of Warcraft. I mean, if you're hiring the right people, which is what your job should be to do as, you know, head of these huge companies, but I just wonder if just bad decisions are being made from the top, and, you know, you can do a good job. I mean, I think Disney has a very checkered history of like all their properties, but you know, Marvel has come out of it pretty well, and they are under that too. It's just the right people were there. Good night, Condiment Studio. Appreciate you hanging out. Cheers the beer. There you go. Let's see. They've tweeted a ton of camera equipment and has hinted a lot at a channel. Now that I can see. They've been so open to the like the YouTube world for people doing battle reports and stuff that I can absolutely see them doing their own. They did release Thundercats Roar. It still hurts my soul. Oh, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm just reminding everybody about their ruined childhoods or something. In War Machine terms, it'd be like saying we're releasing the anti-infernal counter-forces for 2020, but Khador and Trollblades won't get any. Decent wave, but 2 of 10 of the fan base has been passed over. Fair enough. There's a live-action Thundercats movie in the works. Michael Bay's involved. So, confession. I actually really liked his Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. I thought they were quite good. So, you know, there's hope. I don't hate Michael Bay's stuff, even though I did not care for the Transformers. I think there was a Thundercats cartoon remake, but it flopped. I think there was a Muppet Show reboot, and it failed too. Yeah, I remember hearing about that. Thundercats Roars up on Cartoon Network app. It was one of the worst things I have seen in my life, and I watched The Human Centipede. Oh, Siobhan. One, TMI, but also that's really horrible. Real talk though, Thundercats 2011 was such a good show. Died too early. Sounds about right. I'm sure an animated reboot of Thundercats franchise is part of that movie deal. Oof. Speaking of MMOs, how'd you get on with WoW Classic, Miranda? Well, Michael, appreciate you asking. So I'm currently raiding Molten Core with my guild and losing on all the gear because I can't roll for anything. And we're getting ready to start Blackwing Layer, and yeah, I've actually just started rolling an alt because there's only so much I can do with my warrior anymore. But yeah, it's been good times. Getting my friend Cool Guys Nation was in here earlier, but I'm trying to keep him in the game, and yeah, it's been live and fun. And in fact, one of my guild mates, Elder Durid, got on Reddit recently because he's a druid and he won the Hand of Ragnaros, which if you're into WoW, you know that's like the super hard to get legendary weapon that takes an inordinate amount of resources to obtain. And so most people don't actually want it, but when you see it on a class that's not like a warrior, people feel, you know, salty about it. So of course we give it to a druid. And so there's a picture of him as a chicken, a boomkin, running around Battlegrounds with this Hand of Rag. It's great. One of my favorite comments on that Reddit thread is, weird flex, but okay. So yes, it's been great. I love it. I love my guild. And it's nice to hang out with my old friends again, honestly. Just finished reading Acts of War 2, but enjoyed it, but for some reason Part 3 is only available in a multi-part download. Prefer a hard copy when I read anything lengthy. Well, part of the reason built for that was because Part 3 was released in multiple parts, and I think the story had been influenced by game performance at tournaments and stuff, so it was sort of a write as you go. It was a weird choice, but that's why it's in that multi-part download. So I'm doing the same thing. And actually in Part 3 still, and I haven't finished it. Wasn't there a Banana Splits remake, either TV show or movie? Didn't they make that stupid movie into a slasher movie? It's just so stupid it's so. I don't know. They're remaking Fantasy Island. Like, everything's up for grabs right now. I think Hasbro does own the rights to She-Ra, He-Man, etc. I know they own G.I. Joe, Transformers, and a lot of other properties. Fair enough. I love He-Man. DC Comics put out a run of it in 2012. I think that was a good series of He-Man lore. Nice. 2006, He-Man series was awesome. I loved the redesigns for Prince Adam and Teela. See, I've missed out on so many of these things. Hooray, wow, that's awesome. I'm glad you stuck it out. Had to give up at 14. My responsibilities have just moved since 2009. I understand. There's definitely a lot of time it demands. And it's weird because it's like, well, just everyone's lives are so different 15 years later. So Mandragora, this is a great He-Man. There's a great He-Man documentary on Netflix about the history of the franchise. Is that like the toys, the story of toys or something like that? I started WoW Classic and my son wanted to play retail instead. So I ended up getting hooked on retail again after raising my classic character to 58. Oh. You know, I've logged into retail a couple times and it's just so, like, sensory overload, sort of. There's just a ton of moves. My bag's full of a bunch of stuff. I don't even know what it's there for because I've kind of messed with it in a couple of years. And everything's kind of, there's no granularity. You want to be protection spec, you just click the button that makes you protection now. You click the button that makes you arms or fury or whatever. And the gear grind, it was the gear grind that really sucked. And mythic dungeons were not fun because I don't actually care about speedrunning dungeons, only to be able to roll the dice at the end of the week to see if maybe my gear Titan forged. That whole business totally put me off of it. It was not casual, it was not fun, and it was just felt like literally grinding your face against like an angle grinder. DC out a mini-series last year that tied into the Injustice video game, and it was really entertaining. Individual copies are hired to find, pick up the collected work. Much easier. Nice. Hey, Kitty. Good to see you, girl. Hasbro might have trouble with the She-Ra license as Mattel has the toy rights. Interesting. That's right. Forgot about Mattel. Pretty good group here beats having Miranda block an annoying rude comment. That's true. Adam made a tad more sense in the remake since becoming He-Man was more than getting a tan. I blame the old cartoon anonymity on a spell and sword. A spell the sword creates. Only way it makes sense. Fair enough. I've been watching Pat's phone hooked up to the TV and I wanted to say hi. Well, I appreciate you doing that. I hope you're doing alright. The horror Banana Splits movie, where that they were animatronics that went evil, like Terminators. Whew. I don't know what you guys are talking about. You just keep saying Banana Splits over and over, and I'm just confused as to what on earth that means. Like, that's a cartoon and a movie, an animatronic movie about banana splits? What? Sorry, you lost me. I'm just gonna go back to painting rivets quietly. You guys continue your weird banana splits conversation. Painting the Khadors red. On the bright side on these guys, as well as Warjacks, it's super fun because there's so many little rivets to dot. Vanilla, wow. 25th anniversary was enough for me. Fair enough. 5 hours in classic Alterac Valley was all the nostalgia fix I needed, but yes, it is a lot of rep and gear and the item grinds in current. Strange enough, I used to love to watch the Banana Splits show as a kid. I can relate to the sensory overload regarding WoW retail. It's crazy actually taking a break right now until the next expansion. So maybe I'll finish up my character in Classic soon. Well, that'd be cool. Now, don't forget, Warcraft 3 Reforged also comes out at the end of the month. So I am thinking of streaming some RTS goodness. Plus, I should really get my review out for Media Glitch. It would be good. It would be good for everybody. Are you still watching the original Star Trek, or have you moved on to the next generation? No, I'm still in Star Trek. I got distracted with another project, and since there are a mere 24 hours in the day, I sort of had to stop. I'm on the very last episode of season 2 for Star Trek, the original series. But then another idea came into my head, which might continue to delay me watching that. I do so love the series, though. Oh, so good. An interesting show of ideas and weird costumes. Just fun. I love how much, like, Spock gets focused on, because Kirk is obviously supposed to be the main character, and he is, and, you know, he's certainly, like, endearing, but man, ain't no one endearing like Spock. Just, everybody wants to explore Spock. I was quite proud of myself whenever they introduced his dad, Malik, I think was his name, and I recognized him. I was like, he was a Romulan before. They totally used the same actor in the first episode where you run into the Romulans, and I was like, I got it, I recognized it. I was so happy. Weird things make me happy. So anyway, but yes, Next Generation soon. So Banana Splits horror equals Five Nights at Freddy's movie? Yeah, I don't know. Am I the only one who thinks the sound is really low, or have I turned deaf overnight? I don't know, I'm sorry. I might be facing this way. The mic should be okay. It's giving me decent levels, so hopefully you're not. Hopefully, I don't know. Do you know if they're still working on War Machine? All I see now is Riot Quest and Monster Apocalypse. I mean, they came out with Infernals just last year, and they are still putting out their mini crate models and Archons. So yeah, I think so. And I've not heard otherwise. Hasbro/Wizards of the Coast is doubling down on China in the coming years. You can see it in the way they're making licensed product with their brands right now and changing their marketing angles. You see that in movies now too, like the types of stories being told, and the because you see the production labels or whatever at the beginning of movies, and a lot of them are China now. My teen son and I are watching the entire Star Trek franchise from start to finish, so it's fun re-experiencing it with him. We're on Next Generation Season 7/DS9 Season 2. You're co-watching them, concurrently watching them. That's crazy. Oh man, that's gonna be a good time. Like, so your teen son's into it and doesn't think it's boring, and I don't know, that's awesome. The Banana Splits was a show like the Monkees did for Saturday morning kids TV with music and goofing around. The Banana Splits were guys in big, hairy elephant and gorilla costumes. They played musical instruments and danced and rode amphibious buggies. This just sounds like a weird dream. Nightmare fuel. Any word on Bat Reps or the Iron Kingdoms episodes? The latter are in the works, and that's a bit out of my hands at the moment. Bat Reps, well, I'm preparing for a tournament at the end of the month, and then after that, yes, I should be able to plan some stuff. I've got my friends that, you know, been coming over, and we've been playing games, hanging out, so I've got a crew again to kind of start recording. So that should be like the 2020 thing that happens. It does seem like the focus is not on the main game at the moment at Privateer. No, they put a lot of focus on Riot Quest, as far as I can tell, which is just an arena type of game. I mean, when I heard about Riot Quest, I wasn't really interested in playing with the minis. The Monster Apocalypse stuff sort of seemed a little more interesting to me in that regard. But doesn't Riot Quest, for anybody who knows about it, seem like it would be ideal as a video game? I mean, I feel like a big opportunity there is being ignored. Steampunk 2077 delayed. Also, TV suggestion. Watch yourself some sex education on Netflix. Sounds rude, but it's a lovely young adult rom-com. Oh dear. It's great. It's like an 80s and 90s American high school drama set in rural English school. The end of the effing world is great also. Huh. They're also too preachy and socially concerned to create value within their products. I assume we're talking about Hasbro again, which is blatantly apparent. There's no good reason for them to put out so little actual product. That I don't know. Old school protection pallies from original beta retired before Pandora came out. Protection pallies in the early game were so terribly ignored. Like, getting gear for that, you were running Skolamon's gear forever until, geez, even Blackwing Lair is like primarily ret gear. I guess maybe the gear out of Molten Core is okay, but that's like pseudo Healy, and then Nax is fully Healy. I don't know what the Encourage gear was. Man, hats off to you if you were running around as a paladin. Like, everybody hated them. It was so hard. Let's see. Good luck. Banana Splits was like a psychedelic trip. It was repeated in the 80s and 90s, made in the 70s, I think. I feel like you guys are trolling me. This doesn't sound like a real thing. Looking forward to Bat Reps in 2020. Yes, me too. Riot Quest Arena Fight would straight up be awesome. So many mini IPs would be great games. I agree. I have a VHF of the Banana Splits. What are you talking about? Riot Quest reminds me of a tabletop gauntlet. Yeah, and it seems to be like what they're excited about. Joe Estrada, welcome. I have a fully painted Khador army, but the War Machine scene in San Antonio is dead. So sad. Well, it might not be dead forever. I mean, there's always the possibility of people kind of coming back to the game. Oh, wow, it's already 9. Of people coming back to the game in your local meta before you sell your army, if it's something you enjoyed, you might just talk to some of the other people who used to play or that you know that might give it a shot. I don't know. Maybe you can revivify it. Maybe it's just people needed a break for a while. And I don't know, maybe it can come back. Be nice. Banana Splits is just innocent fun. I don't believe you guys. This isn't a real show. VHF is a radio frequency. They made a tabletop gauntlet, not in name, but in mechanics. My friends have it. I can't recall the name. Are you talking about Grind or, well, probably Grind. They're already getting exposed to that. Plenty of coverage online. Watch one episode, Miranda. See if you get hooked like I did. Thanks always for the stream. Hope you have a wonderful week. Well, thank you. You too, Ilarian. Don't burn up out there and stay safe and enjoy your Vegemite. YouTube the Banana Splits after the show. It's crazy from the US. You should know your own cultural heritage. We have a lot of cultural heritage, okay? I've been... Fine. This can't be real. Yep, Blizzard did the same thing, so people are on the lookout for it. Oh, yeah, that's right. Missed all the Riot Quest, was their general opinion. It would make a great video game. I think that what War Machine is missing is the book series like 40K. I read like one Iron Kingdoms novel and it was good. Well, there was only one that really made it, and I'm going to wrap up after this, but there was only one that really made it to like general publication because it was sold in like Barnes & Noble and regular stores. It was... like in Thunder Forged, I want to say. But there are a bunch of books for the Iron Kingdoms world. It's just, they're kind of all ebooks. You can't just find physical books anymore. And so it's hard to keep, like, it's hard to remember that they exist, essentially. So, all right, I guess I'm checking out this Banana Splits show. Viper Job intended to get the Funko Ultramarine and weathering it with paint and chipping it to look like an undercover Alpha Legionnaire. I've resisted so far. Not a Funko Pop collector. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, there are a few that are cute, but it's easy to just let them multiply like tribbles. Whoa, lost the chat. All right, good night, everybody. I'm gonna call it here. Good night. Thank you all for hanging out. I got 3 colors on the mini, so whatever, that was good enough. And I'll see you in a week, which will be my last painting session before Indie Storm. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great night.